So I do love hearing from you. Since most all of us have moved to online gatherings during this COVID-19 event, I miss the personal live interaction where we can have, deeper discussions about consciousness exploration and emotional recovery. And that's why I always ask for your comments about your experiences. And speaking of those experiences, both in your own inner explorations on your own, and as well as what happens during our time together in various venues, the discussion about Kundalini energy has excited a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of rich descriptions and what I call field reports about experiences of intense energy moving through. And one comes from Vince, and he's really articulate in his precision of describing his journey, and it's why I wanted to share it with you. He was a participant and is a participant of my Thursday adulting gatherings, as I call it. And here's what he says. Thanks so much for guiding us through the experience of the Kundalini meditation amplified with cannabis. I'm new to this type of meditation, breath work, so I'm wondering if my experience was normal and what exactly was happening to me. Now he goes ahead and describes it. Halfway through the active breath practice, my body started vibrating intensely, similar to the feeling of pins and needles when your hand is asleep, but more intense and throughout my whole body. My lips and eyes were also buzzing intensely. At a certain point, it became overwhelming, and I had to just sit, breathe, and let go and allow it to happen. The intense vibration feeling was not accompanied by any particular thought or emotion. It was just a physical thing. So I'm curious, what was happening to me? Is this normal? What does it mean? Was I releasing something subconsciously? The experience was intense and intriguing and makes me want to explore more, he says, and he adds a smiley face. Thanks, signed Vince. Well, first, I just want to say that I admire how Vince took care of himself during this experience. That is, with this energy flowing through, he consciously didn't turn off the experience, but rather he dialed it back. In our practices, this allows the energy to continue flowing, but more gently so that we can persevere through it. In our gatherings and coursework, I always take the time to explain very carefully that while I create to the best of my ability, especially in an online environment, a safe and nurturing space, you also need to take care of yourself. And this is because, folks who are wrestling with a lot of emotions can be overwhelmed with the velocity of the release of them. We need the release in order to heal, but, not at the expense of overwhelm. And this is where the question of why do I want to subject myself to this can come up. And it makes sense to ask, especially if a person, spends a lot of time and energy trying to avoid these feelings and keep them at bay. And the answer is because it's releasing the trauma that's lodged in the tissues of the body. And in Eastern teachings, as we've been talking about, we're clearing energy blocks in the body. And the good news is that every layer you release is one you will not have to encounter again. But like building muscles, the toughest lift is at the beginning when our nervous system is like a 90-pound weakling. And having said that, the practices that we do are of accelerated movement. You can immediately tell something's happening and helping. And this is quite different compared to a quiet sitting meditation called mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation is sort of what you could call the long-term plan, where the approach is patience and incredible will to sit for long periods of time, observing your thoughts and moving them along. It's popular these days, but that quiet sitting, it never quite fit for me, and I know it's not optimal for a lot of others too. I hear from you. And if you're one of those who's had trouble with the quiet sitting, hey, come and join us and check out this approach, this emotional liberation approach. Now, in regard to what Vince experienced, we are all, as we say in the clinic, so biochemically individual, so different, that energy releases express themselves in a myriad way. This myriad ways, that is, this Kundalini energy moving through, it's so different from each person. But the good news is that if you continue to do the practices, as little as 11 minutes a day, the releases get easier and easier, mostly because the practices, and often with the thoughtful use of cannabis, strengthen the nervous system. And that creates an awareness and strength that enables the release of emotions. And when we study this, we become intimately familiar with the spectrum of emotions we're releasing, so we can intellectually understand, but at the same time we're moving through it, we understand intuitively from an awareness of what's going on inside your body, your emotional and sensory landscape. And doing this as we do in a step-by-step process is a wondrous cutting-edge approach. And we call it self-therapy as you're doing it for yourself. And I want to put a pitch in here. I'll be releasing my 8-week emotional expansion masterclass soon. So keep an eye out for details, as it may be the deep dive in a intimate community environment that resonates for you. So where are you with this? What does a deep dive mean to you? Is it a scary thought? Or, are you like, Vince, give me more? Drop down to the comment section and let me know. I'm Becca Williams, and I want you to lead a magnificent life, and I want to help you do that.